What happens when a beloved country legend strolls onto a daytime talk show stage, ready for a warm conversation about her latest album, only to discover the host has come armed for political warfare? What follows is one of the most breathtaking moments ever to unfold on morning television. An exchange where Joy Behar tried to corner Reba McEntire, only to realize she'd seriously misjudged her guest. By the time the dust settled, the studio audience was wide-eyed and silent, and Joy herself was left without a comeback. This is the story of how one of country music's most respected icons flipped the script and delivered a reality check no one saw coming. The calm before the storm. The day at The View began like any other. Reba arrived early, her unmistakable red hair shining under the studio lights, dressed in a midnight blue blazer that practically radiated confidence. She expected a straightforward chat about her tour and new music, nothing she hadn't done 100 times before. But even as she sat in the green room adjusting her mic, she sensed something off. A kind of electricity in the air that didn't feel like anticipation, more like a brewing storm. "Back in 30 seconds, the floor manager called. Reba smiled politely at the hosts. Whoopi gave her a nod that usually meant, "You're good, you're home here." But today, something felt different. The opening shot. "Welcome back to The View," Joy Behar chirped the moment they came back from commercial. "We're joined by country music icon Reba McEntire, who has a brand new tour coming up. But before we get into all that, Reba, I'm sure our audience would love to hear where you stand on some issues that matter to working families." Reba's smile tightened just a fraction. This wasn't the warm musical intro she was expecting. "Well, Joy," she began carefully, "I'm here to talk about my new music and the fans who have supported me." "Oh, come on now," Joy cut in, leaning forward. "You've got influence, you've got a voice. Your fan base is largely rural, largely conservative, the same folks voting against their own interests. Don't you think it's time you spoke up?" The room stiffened. Even Whoopi raised an eyebrow.
Reba pushes back. "Joy," Reba said steadily, "I think you're making a lot of assumptions about who my fans are." She listed the kinds of people who show up at her concerts: teachers, nurses, small business owners, military families. Real humans, not stereotypes. But Joy wasn't letting go. She pressed her about diversity in country music, about political responsibility, about social issues. Reba listened, quietly, calmly, but her eyes sharpened. The temperature drops. Joy pushed harder. "Your silence on social justice speaks volumes. When Black Lives Matter was at its peak, where was Reba McEntire?" That did it. Reba leaned forward, her voice even, but edged with steel. "My silence, Joy? I've spent 40 years supporting charities, lifting up underprivileged communities, and giving my time, not for applause, not for headlines, but because it's the right thing to do. I don't broadcast every good deed for likes." Joy wasn't expecting the counterpunch. She tried again, insisting that Reba was hiding behind charity instead of taking political stands. Reba takes control. Reba set her coffee mug down with a soft clink that echoed louder than a shout. "Joy, let me tell you something about complicity." The room froze. Complicity is sitting comfortably in a New York studio, making 6 figures, passing judgment on people you've never met. It's deciding that everyone who doesn't agree with you must be uneducated or immoral. Joy tried to interrupt. Reba raised a hand, calm, firm, undeniable. "You've had your say, it's my turn." She spoke about real fans: Sarah from Tennessee, Frank from Iowa, people with struggles, hopes, and dignity. People Joy had just dismissed with a sweeping stereotype.
The turning point. Joy reached for control again, her voice shaking slightly. "I don't need to visit small-town America to know how they vote." Reba didn't miss a beat. "Exactly, and that's the problem. You talk about these communities but don't listen to them. You lecture them but don't know them. The other hosts exchanged uneasy glances. This wasn't a debate anymore. It was an unmasking. The final blow. Joy insisted the view holds people accountable. Reba shook her head. No, you don't hold people accountable, you attack them. There's a difference. Accountability means good faith conversation. What you do is turn politics into combat. You've mistaken outrage for righteousness. Joy grasped for support from her co-hosts. None came. You wanted to talk politics instead of music. You assumed I'd be an easy target because I'm from Oklahoma, because I sing country music. You opened this door, she paused, and then delivered the line that sealed the moment. But you didn't expect me to walk through it.
The moment the audience will never forget. You could feel it, the exact second the balance of power shifted. Reba wasn't just defending herself anymore. She was calling out the entire setup. Joy straightened in her chair, trying to regain control. Well, Reba, I just think... Reba didn't raise her voice. She didn't have to. Joy, you didn't invite me here to have a conversation. You invited me here to corner me. The audience gasped. A few people clapped before the producers frantically waved for silence. You assumed that a Southern woman with a guitar would just sit here and let you scold her. You assumed that because my fans include rural Americans, they must be the villains in your political script. But you're not fighting villains, Joy. Joy blinked hard, her composure slipping again. You're fighting people you've never taken the time to understand. Joy leaned in, voice trembling with indignation. I do understand them. I understand the dangers of misinformation, of voting against... Reba leaned in too, matching her energy, but not her anger. No, you understand a caricature of them, a stereotype you've repeated so often you've convinced yourself it's the truth. Joy opened her mouth again, but Reba pushed forward, her tone calm but unshakable. I'm not here to defend ignorance or bigotry or hate. I'm here to defend people who work hard, love their families, and do their best in a world that rarely gives them credit. People you just dismissed with one sentence. Joy's frustration boiled over. Well, maybe if they stop supporting people who... Reba lifted an eyebrow. Joy, do you hear yourself? You're not even talking to them. You're talking at them, from a distance, from a height. A stunned hush settled over the set. Even Whoopi mouthed, wow. The reality check lands. Reba turned slightly toward the camera, toward the millions watching at home. I don't care if someone is conservative, liberal, independent, or doesn't give a hoot about politics. I care if they're kind. I care if they're trying. I care if they show up for their children, their neighbors, their communities. Her voice softened, but somehow grew more powerful. And if you genuinely want to change hearts or minds, Joy, you start with respect, not ridicule. Joy's eyes darted toward the producers, looking for a lifeline only to find none. Whoopi steps in, finally. Whoopi placed a hand on the table. All right, she said with the weary tone of a woman who had been waiting 15 minutes to throw a lifeline. But Reba wasn't finished. Joy, you said earlier that I have a platform. You're right. And here's how I use it. I lift people up. I don't divide them. I don't shame them, and I don't pretend to know their lives better than they do. Joy tried again to jump in. I wasn't shaming. Reba held up a hand, gentle but firm. You were. The audience murmured, not a hostile sound, more like a collective realization.